Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and manners, it's me, Buzz G. Hey, oh, I thought I was on autopilot there, running faster than heck. So if you notice, the background's a little different than normally. What I'm doing is I'm doing this from a coffee shop in friendly Fridley, Minnesota, at an undisclosed location. Not actually. It's called a Clapping Monkey, and it's in Fridley. It's a vintage store, and they also have a little coffee shop in here. So we have a power outage at our house from the storm last night, and don't have any Wi-Fi, don't have any electricity. So I just pivot and innovate and keep going forward. So let's go get my friend John. He's with Full Spectrum Coaching and Consulting, and his name is John Armstrong, and he's in the green room enjoying some of our digital hors d'oeuvres. Let me go get him right now. John, are you there?
I'm Brad. Good to see you again.
How are you doing, Mr. Armstrong?
I'm great, thanks. Good to see you. How are you?
Doing well. Now, you're in a coffee shop as well, aren't you?
I am, yep. I'm in downtown Minneapolis.
It's an interesting world. Let me flip this around here like that. Yeah, I like the idea of being able to work from anywhere. I remember I vacationed in Bali years ago, and they got those little, what do they call them back then? They're not cyber cafes, but they're like internet cafes, I guess you call them.
That's what they call them, right?
And they always had that internet access wherever you go. It was a common thing in those countries. But I like it.
My hotspot wasn't enough, so just got the password, and here we are.
I know, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I love it. So we're on number 2 of the 9 now, and I got the little graphic. Let me pull that up and stick it out so everybody can see it. It's this graphic right here. And today we're talking about refusal or resistance or reluctance in the coaching journey. Is that when some people wonder, do you think that some of this is maybe it's a money thing, they don't want to spend the money, or is it maybe they don't want to find out some things that they might have to work to fix?
Well, it could be all of the above and more. Yeah.
That's what I mean. So sometimes we have resistance and we don't even know why we're resisting, and we will make excuses like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to have enough time. Yet they're playing on the internet, surfing through TikTok, right? They have time.
Yeah. I sometimes like to ask the question, what's your favorite your favorite flavor of self-sabotage or resistance? Because these are the ways we self-sabotage or resistance, the ways we hold ourselves back.
Yeah, and sometimes it's sort of subliminal.
We may not be aware of it, and may not be conscious of what we're doing. Yep.
And that's sometimes good working with a coach like yourself, because they can kind of see through that when they can call bullshit when they see it.
Yeah, so as the relationship with a coach evolves, sometimes that becomes apparent, and the coach might ask the person if they see what the coach says, I'm noticing this. What do you think of that? Are you noticing that? If you built that relationship where somebody's open to feedback and that observation.
So are these things in this sequence, this graphic here that we've got right here, those 9 elements or 9 pillars, is that are those all common little phases that go through in the whole coaching journey?
I see it as a really clear blueprint of the coaching process, whether it's an hour conversation or maybe a several series or a longer endeavor like the trips we've been talking about. Is that once you have a question or a call to adventure, then the next phase is going to be some resistance to that. Might be a little bit of resistance, might be a lot of resistance, might be several different forms of resistance. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that there's a change of the status quo. If we're going to leave the ordinary routines of life or the ordinary way of we've experienced ourselves in the world, as we move from one state to the other, there's going to be some challenge and resistance to that.
Yeah, I suppose sometimes it's just a very subtle way of a person protect the ego protecting itself.
Yeah, I like how you put that. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that kind of thing. And I'm assuming that these can be like a small, like those 9. It could be a small little mini segments of going through, even like in a short conversation, like at that event we're at this morning. It
Yes.
might be that kind of thing that you come up. I want to go talk to that person, but I kind of don't. I'm kind of scared, so I'm reluctant to do it. And then it
Yeah.
could be the entire, like if you're working with a coaching client for a year, it might come up in bigger segments, longer periods of time of that resistance. And finally, they pull the plug and they go and start that new business they were thinking about doing that they were
Yeah.
resisting before.
Yeah.
Right?
And I like to think of this resistance as kind of a training, like we do resistance training at the gym. That, going up and talking to somebody could have some resistance training that we develop some emotional capacity to work through our fears of talking to somebody, or some mental resistance. That's not the kind of person I am. I wouldn't do that. Well, wait a minute. If I do something I don't think then I kind of expand my mental capacity. So resistance training on kind of mental, emotional, physical, energetic, and spiritual levels, it kind of builds us up. Is kind of how I like to approach that.
Do you find that when people are resisting things, once they let go of that resistance, they realize that it was really small and insignificant, but for some reason it was just stopping them?
Well, when it's in the moment, it can feel very large. Yes. Um, and, I think being aware of what's possible beyond our current state, once that becomes attractive enough or compelling enough. Somebody was just telling me the other day that sometimes it's not about letting go as much as it is about expanding into what's next and allowing the old to just integrate or have not less hold on how we've been operating.
That's interesting. So say that first part again.
So I was talking about letting go myself. And this was in terms of thinking about the trips and letting go of some of the past. And one of my advisors was talking about another possibility is it's less about letting go and more about integrating more expanded awareness.
Okay, so that's kind of what I was getting at. Some people are afraid, they resist because they don't know what's on the other side.
Yeah,
So there's that fear. But if they knew there was a place to step, another stepping stone, then it would be easier to let go. Almost like, remember the monkey bars when you're in school and you swing and you got to let go of the other
yeah,
ones, you go into the third one.
yeah,
You have to let go to be able to progress, right? What if you didn't if you were trying to walk and you didn't let one foot leave? You'd be
yes.
squeezed, you'd be tied down.
Yeah,
That's
that's
interesting.
that's part of the adventure. Absolutely.
Yeah, being able to go on an adventure and experience adventurous things, and it's the unknown.
Yeah.
It's almost like going through a haunted house.
I like to approach it each day, so it doesn't have to be something huge and outwardly, um, you know, shock and awe. That each day we can have these little heroic adventures of stepping outside our norm.
I just joined it. Our our little thing is going on
Oh,
live
look at that!
on LinkedIn right now.
All right.
So I wanted to see if we have any people on the
Uh-huh.
LinkedIn platform. So I
Thanks
end
for
up having to pull this graphic up all the time so I can kind of get the.
mm-hmm.
So the
Yeah,
next thing after that is then the what did it say? I can't read it. The
yeah. So
guide.
sometimes we can get stuck or trapped or can get sticky in any of these phases of the coaching journey or the transformation journey. Um, and one of the things that the guide will do to help us go through the refusal or resistance is kind of tease out what is the particular form of resistance that we're dealing with. Because everybody has a different set of flavors they prefer the most. Um, So, for example, for myself, I've also have learned that, one of mine is going aloof or going into my head and thinking too much about something, intellectualizing, rationalizing. So we'll have a set of different skills to kind of deal with the change. And then we kind of have to negotiate with ourselves. Is it worthwhile to spend time in that resistance, or are we ready to move on beyond that resistance into what's new?
Yeah, a friend of mine used to call it that phase like avoidance behavior, because you're kind of avoiding taking the next step because of the fear. And then next week we'll be talking about guidance. And when you realize that there's someone there on the other side when you're going to take that step, you don't know where it's going.
Yeah.
It's okay. There's someone there to guide you through. It's not just you're not just stepping into nothingness. It's actually it's okay. It's safe.
You're
Yeah.
stepping. I like that you said stepping, because we're essentially integrating. We're going to be journeying into something new we haven't done before. It's a new behavior, a new mindset, a new feeling, a new connection level. And it could be uncomfortable. It could be very comfortable. It could be very exhilarating. We don't know. And I think we all have different iterations where we're resisting maybe some pain or resisting some pleasure. And we have to decide if we're going to acknowledge that and move through it.
Well, I think I mentioned it maybe in our last conversation last week, last Friday, that like sometimes I'm like more of a visionary. I see the vision out there, and oftentimes people aren't willing to. They don't want to go that far. They're scared to go that far. So you have to kind of paint that picture that this is a series of steps. It's okay. We'll get there eventually. But each one of those steps, it's probably kind of scary. It's almost like walking on one of those rope bridges going across a river.
Mm-hmm.
You got spaces between each one of the steps. You got to be careful when you're walking through there, even though it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
Your body won't go through that, but it's scary because you don't know what if you miss.
Mm-hmm. I think each of those steps we can become numb to the fear that's present, or we can just acclimate to it will be that way or it is that way, but maybe we don't put all our attention on what that fear is around, what the fear is manifested from.
Well, we don't do it when we're walking in familiar territory. I mean, like if you're walking down the stairs and you've been around the construction business, they have a standard of how stairs are built. How far they go down and how wide they are, and all the stairs are kind of similar, so it's pretty easy. But every once in a while, you get in those stairs that has, three short ones, then a long one. It's kind of hard to navigate that, and you have to slow down and catch yourself.
I like you said that because, this morning that we were at that presentation together, and it made me think about the game Chutes and Ladders. Remember the game Chutes and Ladders?
I do, but I don't recall playing it, but I remember its existence.
So,
Yes.
So my initial concept of it was good if you're on a ladder because you can climb, but falling down a chute, I had the impression that that's not good because you go backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Now, since decades later, I realized, actually, surprises could actually take us farther forward than we couldn't have planned. So sometimes the ladders or the steps give us this mindset of where it's clearly defined where we are, where we're going to get to, and we just stay along those steps. But if we kind of fall into a chute or a trap door or something, it takes us somewhere we didn't expect. That's not necessarily always a bad thing. It may not be comfortable. It may not be what we want right away, but there may be a silver lining in that takes us closer to our ultimate goal with, keeping to that hero's mindset of everything that's happening is happening for us for a reason, and we have to keep showing up for that. including the resistance. So it's probably, I've heard the phrase just, bulldoze through your fears. And I'm more of a coach who says, well, let's identify what those fears are and befriend them because they served us for some reason at some time. You don't want to throw them away. You just don't want them to get in the way.
Sure.
In that sense.
And it also, if there's a resistance for a reason, it might not just be in this one situation. There may be other situations that happen in your life that overcoming that resistance is going to be good for many other things. Like, say you're afraid to sing, so you don't want to do karaoke. Then all of a sudden you break through that. All of a sudden, wow, I can go to open mics. I can start doing all this stuff. It'll be fun going to the picnics and bring my guitar. All of a sudden you opens up so much more stuff just because you conquered that one fear.
Yeah? Okay. So I just got accepted off the wait list yesterday to a singing leadership workshop weekend for next weekend. I can't hold a melody. I'm really good at rhythm. I'm a professional dancer.
Well, this hits home, huh?
But it's kind of similar to the public speaking. Is like I'm probably somewhere between poor to okay for holding a melody. I love music. I love singing. I love dancing. But to step into being a leader is like, I can't fathom how I will progress on this journey because of my shortcoming. Now, I'm so excited about just singing that I trust something good will come from this. I do have a story that I'll be the worst in the class, but I get to spend 2 days next weekend in a formal workshop with a professional singing coach. This is community singing. This is not a choir. Mm-hmm. I don't know where we were going with this. I got so excited to share this, but it's it's the willingness to step in and
well, where it was you overcame a fear, a small fear of singing karaoke, and then how it would encompass a lot of other things. And that one little situation. I mean, what's the worst possible thing that could happen if you actually went and sang in this group?
Well, actually, I remember where I got lost in this. The worst thing that could happen is that I'd be the worst in the room, but I'm already deciding I'm the worst in the room, but at least I get to be there. And this is after.
But even if that happened, what difference would it make?
Right, because I already know. Now, this has been a year of singing in a group called Perfection Free Singing. It's a Facebook group. We meet in person on Saturday mornings. So I've gotten more acclimated to not being very good at this, but I love it. And
so speaking of that, because you had that resistance for that possibility, let's do a little commercial. I got this graphic for your upcoming event, the Portugal thing.
And then I'll tell you about how I broke through. Yes.
So somebody that's watching this now might be thinking, okay, I heard he's doing this adventure quest in Portugal, but I don't know if I want to do that. I don't speak Portuguese. How would I order coffee? So here's a little graphic for it in case anybody's interested. There's 2 ways to find it. It's mysynergyretreats.com is a page that I've got, or you can go directly to fullspectrumcoachingandconsulting.com. And that's coming up January of 2025. You're going to Portugal.
Absolutely. It's going to be fabulous.
What made you pick Portugal?
Well, I knew we had to be somewhere out of our comfort zone, out of the U.S. And the timing of the year, we looked at something that was going to be more neutral for temperatures.
Okay.
And so we consulted with a travel agent, and this is one of the bucket places. It's actually, we'll fly into Lisbon, but there's a tiny little island off of Portugal called Madeira. So this island is also speak Portuguese, but in there, we're going to have some opportunities for hiking and boating and music. And so the exotic bucket list quality of Portugal, Madeira, Portugal, is why we chose that.
You say music?
There will be local music, yes.
Oh, local music. I thought because you're doing this music thing, you're going to start a band or something and be the leader of the band.
I probably will lead a few songs, but I'm not starting a band, no. I did want to share with you I think for me, the piece around the singing was identifying my perfectionism. So that's one of the places I resist is things have to get, I've had a pattern where I have to make something perfect before I start it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want anybody else to see it. I don't want to be exposed of being a new at something or a beginner. And so this is what I was willing to step through to sing every week, as well as launch our inaugural first Adventure Quest trip to Portugal. It's our first one.
Oh, cool.
Not going to pretend it's not a first one, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's going to be our first one, and really excited about it.
Well, define perfect. If you're looking for adventure, you want a few things to.
Well, that's funny you say that because our resistances are illusions, and as you're saying, so perfectionism is an illusion that we
It
will be.
is. The acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. So you think that, oh, I can't go on this Portugal thing. I can't afford it. I don't know if I can take the time off work. What if I don't speak the language? What if I get food poisoning? What if there's a terrorist attack? What if you start making up all this stuff?
I was first introduced to these as coping mechanisms, all the different ways we cope. And then they essentially become ways that we just hold ourselves back if we're not aware of them. Avoidance, as you said earlier, disassociating, running away, deflecting. There's just a wonderful set of skills that we can choose from. So.
Well, with that, we've gone for about 21 minutes here, 22 minutes now. So is there anything else you want to share before we sign this one off, and then we'll get prepared for next Friday, another Full Spectrum Friday? Is there something that you want to share a little? I don't know. You get to pick.
I guess again, reminder about the website, fullspectrumcoachingconsulting.com. That is where we have got the Adventure Quest to Portugal. So you can go on there and look at the itinerary. You can book a discovery call with me to talk more about the trip, whether you're interested in this one or another one, or even just some coaching. And then also I'll just do a plug for our Entrepreneurs Outpost. Third Thursdays of the month at noon on Zoom. You'll see that on the website. That's an opportunity to chat with other entrepreneurs and just kind of mastermind of how things are going.
Okay, well, that's cool. This is fun. It's interesting taking each one of these topics. You wouldn't think that we'd be able to spend almost a half an hour talking about one subject, but I don't know. There's a lot to every little step you take. There's a lot to it, I'm going to pop you into the green room, and then if you want to stick around, we can have some more conversation. But I'm going to sign this one off and put it in the can, as they say. And
thanks, Brad.
Appreciate anybody watching. Okay,
likewise.
Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There you got it. That was my friend John Armstrong. And here's another way you can find out about this. And he's also going to be doing something in Norway. Is in the plans on the back burner. So that will be on there as well someday. So that's all we've got. I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. And peace, love, and happiness. Enjoy the rest of your day. Be good, be kind, be nice. Did I say be nice? Yes, be nice. See ya.